Okay, to start today, I just want you to do this warm-up. So find each of these answers, pause the video, and go ahead and do that. Here we have 2/15 plus 3/15. Denominator is the same, so it becomes 5/15. Both of those are divisible by 5, so that becomes 1/3. Number 2, same denominator again. 7/12 minus 3/12 would give us 4/12. Both of those are divisible by 4, so it would also give us 1/3. Here we're going to multiply across, but I'm going to go ahead and cancel. So this becomes 1, this becomes 2, so you get 14/5, or 2 4/5. And then lastly here we have 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 1 is 7. And since it's division, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 4/1. So in the end, this one is just 14. In today's lesson, what we're going to really focus on is learning to compare and order decimals, fractions, and percents, and how they're all related to each other. If you remember in the last unit, we were talking all about ratios. Well, percents are just another form of a ratio, but the difference is that they're always going to compare a number to 100. So here, the ratio might be 3 out of 10. Well, really it's the same as 30 out of 100, or 30%. 1/2 is the same as 50 out of 100, or 50%. And 3/4 is 75 out of 100, or 75%. So what we need you to do is really think of the percent symbol as a meaning per 100 or over 100. So 75% is really 75 over 100, or 75 hundredths written as a decimal. Now the nice thing is when we're converting a fraction to a decimal, it's actually pretty simple. We can just simply divide the numerator by the denominator. So 1/8 is 1 divided by 8, which is 0.125. And now we can convert that decimal to a percent simply by multiplying it by 100 and then putting on the percent symbol. We're moving our decimal point over 2 spots, and this becomes 12.5%. So here let's just look at an example of some different percentages and fractions on a number line and how they compare. So 10%, or A, is the same as having 1/10, because it's 10 out of 100. 1/4 is like having 25%. 40% is like having 2/5, because it's 40 out of 100, which reduces. 3/5 is 60%. 66 2/3 is just the fraction 2/3. 87 1/2 would be 7/8, and then 125% would be 1 1/4. Now we can use that concept of the number line to help us compare fractions, decimals, and percents. So what I would suggest doing is just change everything to one format. So for me, I like to work with either decimals or percents. I know that 1/4 is 25%, and having 40% is going to be more than having 25%. So now why don't you try this one on your own? So here, 89.893, if I move it over 2 spots, is the same as having 89.3%, which is going to be having more than 50. Now here's another example where we can just actually order them from least to greatest. Like I said, you want to change everything to one format, so I'm going to change everything to percents. So 3/4 is really 75%, and then this would be 41%. So our smallest is going to be 0.075%. Our next smallest one is going to be 0.41, because that would be 41%. Then we have 3/4, because that would be 75%. And then lastly would be our 100%. So now it's your turn. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and write these ones out in order from least to greatest. Alright, so really we have 50% here, which is 1/2, and 0.25 is the same as 25%. On this particular problem, our 25%, or 0.25, is going to be our smallest. Then we have 35%, and then 1/2, because that would be 50, and then lastly 200%. Let's look at a real life example of how we can change between decimals, fractions, and percent. Gold that is 24 karat is considered 100% pure gold. So if you bought a 24 karat gold ring, it would be pure gold. Gold that is 14 karat is 14 parts pure gold and then 10 parts another metal because it would be 14 out of 24, such as copper, zinc, nickel, or silver. So we want to know what percent of 14 karat gold is pure gold. So our part is going to be 14 out of 24, which gives us our pure gold. I'm going to go ahead and just reduce this. I'm going to take 24 divided by 2, which gives me 7/12. And now I'm just going to take 7 divided by 12 to figure out what my decimal is. So when I do 7 divided by 12, I get 0.583 repeating. So as a percent, it's going to be about 58.3% gold. Now it's your turn to try this problem, so go ahead and pause the video and try this one out on your own. A baker's dozen is 13. When a shopper purchases a dozen items at the bakery, they get 12. It is said that the baker eats one item for every batch. What percent of the food does the baker eat? When we look at this, what percent of the food does the baker eat? They're eating one item, but it's not 1 out of 12, it's actually 1 out of 13 because that's what they are making every time. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my 1 divided by 13. When I do that, it ends up being 0.077 approximately. So they end up eating 7.7%, because I moved my decimal point over twice.